the perfect host, Jim Cerone, in the house, in the spotlight. So thrilled to have you and your talent with us this morning. Thank you for joining us, Jim.
It's truly my pleasure, Scott. Thanks for the opportunity.
I have to tell you, you and I, the polite people, are like, who are those after you? No, I insist, after you. Chip and Dale, right?
Right.
That's us. Whenever we try to get something, well, what's better for you? No, what's better for you? and so sometimes it's really hard to like finally get something down, and we did, and you're here. So I'm happy to have you join us. You are a professional DJ, a speaker.
Yes.
Yes. A trainer.
Yes.
Yes. Radio.
Had radio in my background for a long time. Yes. No longer.
No longer. But you bring that to the party. Yes.
Absolutely. All of my radio experience informs the choices I make and the way I perform.
And obviously your cadence.
Yes.
And your style and your performance. And you can see it just in the few moments that we've been together. So tell us about your DJ business.
I have been a DJ since the age of 16. Once I had the opportunity to do it once, that was it. I wanted to do it forever. I love three things: music, parties, and people. And that just happens to all be part of DJing.
Well, but not for all DJs, because we all know the DJ that's here and says, go away, I like my music, don't bother me, right? But you've already described that you like the music, the party, and the people. So that puts you already a step ahead of the rest.
My grandma Cerone didn't know a stranger. You've heard that phrase.
Oh.
She would start a conversation with somebody in the grocery store, and invariably she would know someone who knew them.
Strangers, so, a friend you haven't met yet.
Yes, she had a natural curiosity about people that I inherited. And I love finding out what makes people tick and finding out what brought two people together in the situation of a wedding or for a corporate event. It's fascinating to me, the group dynamics at play in a corporate party, because you have the HR person who's been saddled with planning the corporate event. You have the CEO who wants to show off. You have the accounting department who's looking at every dime, and just so to me, there's nothing better than being in front of a group of people and finding out what makes them tick, or lighting the fuse and standing back and watching it take off.
So many DJs think that music selection is enough, but not knowing the group dynamics, not knowing the backstory, plays a lot into making better choices.
When you can understand the temperature of the room, and for me, that means constantly walking the room and making small talk with people, being the host as they walk in the room, whether it's a wedding or a corporate event or a charity gala, you have to make contact with people. You have to, and a lot of this happens off the microphone. There's so many facets that I call into play. In the radio business, you are schooled, you are constantly reminded you're talking to one person, because listening to the radio is a very solitary thing for the most part. And so as a radio host, you're taught to speak to one person in this voice. As DJs, you're taught the opposite. You're supposed to be loud and big and talk to everybody. But I don't. And I think that's what makes my style unique as a DJ on the microphone in front of a crowd, because I talk just like this.
It is so profound. Todd Mitchum, who we know so well, made the very same comment that it's not about talking to the audience, but it is about talking to the one. So you're in good company and you're right on point. So let's go back to talking about the couple, because there's some magic you can do there by meeting the couple. What are some of the things you like to do that set you apart from other DJs?
I customize everything. Today's couples are used to getting, when they walk into Starbucks, the exact order in the exact way they like it made. And it's that way with everything else in their life. So I do not have any kind of cookie cutter wedding DJ presentation. We talk through every aspect of the day and detail, and I customize it as much as I can for them. And a lot of that is listening. And that's one of those things that if you can master that skill, really opening your ears and listening when you're talking to a couple and talking yourself less, you will go far. People love to talk about themselves, so you just have to ask the right questions to get that ball rolling.
And what's the right question that seems to always get the ball rolling when you're sitting down with a couple?
There are some that seem to work. How did you two meet? Tell me the story of Sally and Jeff. And they'll look at each other and say, do you want to do it? Do you want to do it? Then asking, how did you propose? Were you surprised when he proposed or when she proposed or however it happened? I think people love to talk about how their relationship started, and to find that a DJ who's just music is interested in how they met and what fate twisted to get them together. It's so fascinating. If this person hadn't moved and been in the city that they then met, I love hearing that story every single time because every couple's story is unique.
Mhm. And then what would you do with that kind of information on the day of the wedding?
Sometimes I will drop it in the introduction of their first dance, but you have to be very cautious of that. If you don't attend the ceremony, there's a very good chance the officiant, the minister, the pastor, the rabbi,
Mhm.
used that in their story of the ceremony.
Mhm.
Or the father of the bride is going to use that in his welcome, or the best man and maid of honor are going to use that in their speeches. So you have to be ready to punt and
Mhm.
not use the information that you've gathered. Sometimes it's just great information for me to understand their dynamics. And so that helps me with every other decision during the day, even though I might not say it on the mic.
So it's also not just about collecting the information, but it's knowing when, how, and where to use or to edit what you've received.
Absolutely. If you have, there have been at times where I have a script, I have my notes of what I might say, and the father of the bride will say this line, and the best man will say that line, and the officiant will have said that during the ceremony that I was doing the sound for. And sometimes you're left with nothing, and you have to be fine with that because it doesn't matter. It's not about you, it's about giving them the best day that they have in their head.
The best day. So what is like your favorite moment in a wedding?
There are lots, and you have to be present yourself. And when we have the headphones on and when the music starts and the dancing is going, we have a tendency to lose ourselves in that. And I have to remind myself to always be looking up and to take a lap, I call it. Even when dancing is happening and I've got 3 minutes before I have to pick the next song, I take a quick lap around the room. I'm looking for those moments where, let's say, the father and the daughter have just finished their dance. And I know there was a line I could have said, but the moment itself was just perfect all alone. It didn't need me to do anything but start the applause. I don't need to inject myself into that moment. When the bride and the groom are, the dancing is going and the evening is nearing the conclusion, and they're out on the dance floor dancing to a slow dance, and I can tell they are soaking in, they're reflecting back on what an amazing day that's been. I love to see those things happen.
Mhm. There's such a difference in DJs. And as we both know, there is no right, there is no wrong, there's only different. But I'm getting the impression that even though you mentioned the three things, the music, the party, and the people, but your type of party is taking on, shall we say, a higher brow or more elegant. Do we get down and dirty?
Oh, there's nothing I love better than dancing behind the table. People, I think, are surprised to know that I dance, but I do. When the music starts and the dance floor's pumping, and I love turning the music up loud. I love playing Get Low as much as I love playing Frank Sinatra. Uh, I just love the crowd reaction. But I think I strive to have a difference in the way people feel while they're there. I am shooting to have every single guest feel a participant rather than a spectator. I don't want anyone sitting back and observing. I want them to feel just as welcome if they're a second cousin twice removed or somebody's plus one who's in the wedding party. I want them to feel just as much of the party as anybody else.
It is about being inclusive. And a lot of times DJs will avoid playing a particular song because they think that it's only appealing to, this one small group. But if the DJ plans things properly, it can actually become a complete group thing where everyone is involved. Do you?
As DJs, we're drawn to what I call the party people. You know they're going to dance to whatever you play.
Right.
And so we have a tendency to focus on that group and keep them out there. I know, oh, this next one's going to keep it. This is going to be perfect. And meanwhile, there's a table sitting back at 17 that are wallflowers that have not gotten up yet. I want to be sure that I'm including them. So the party people are going to dance no matter what. They're going to, they show themselves a good time. They don't necessarily need me to help with that. The wallflowers are going to remember that there was suddenly a moment where they could be included. And so we have to watch that tendency to just focus on the people who are responding. We've got to remember the people that haven't responded yet.
Very, very smart. For me, it's not about always having everyone on the dance floor, but making sure that everyone gets to dance.
That's a beautiful way to say it. Exactly.
Well, so great minds think alike for sure. I'm curious, if you were talking with a couple, first time, second time, whatever the circumstances are, but they haven't selected their entertainment yet, what is the best advice that you could give them in selecting quality entertainment for their celebration?
There's a couple of ways that I want to help them make a good choice. The most important way is to help them visualize the day. And they don't know it because they've never hired a DJ before, but the DJ is the one person who leads the party for 5 or 6 hours. And it's a really important role, and you want to be sure you choose the right person for that role. Another way is to ask, what's most important to you? Because every couple has different priorities, and maybe they haven't thought of the wedding yet in terms of priorities. But that's a great way to say to the two of them, what's most important to you about your wedding day? When the party's over, what do you want your guests to say?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you want them to feel? What do you want them to remember about your wedding day? Flowers are beautiful and are such a key part of bringing the celebration together. The wedding dress is such a great reflection of the bride's personality. The car they choose to ride in, whether it's an antique Rolls Royce or it's a stretch limo, they're going to be choosing special things about the day. And in their mind, one of those things is more important than the other. If showing your guests a great time is the top of your list, then whoever you choose for the entertainment is going to be a really vital part of that puzzle.
And that is why they need the perfect host.
And why I'd be honored to help them.
Perfect. Oops, I said it twice. Thank you so much for sitting down with us today, Jim. It's been very enlightening.
It's always a pleasure to have a conversation with you, Scott. I enjoy it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.